This documentary is why I never want to take Daisy to a park ever. I never want to be outside with her.
Did you need this document? Like, wasn't that always kind of, that's not new, right?
Hi, Jillian Benzavali.
Hey, Patrick Hines Banana.
How are you, girl?
I'm, great. Fine.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's complicated. Don't worry about it. I just have a lot of mixed feelings about a lot of things, like about the documentary, about my life. Existential shit creeped in today. It's been a day. Anyway, how are you?
Who cares? You guys, if you want more GP and me, join us on the Patreon. It's over 150 full bonus episodes. To download a bitch right now, that's at the $5 level, you guys.
Yeah, and we have more than the $5 level. Like, there's a lot happening on the Pates.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We just wrapped up the vow, you guys. We are getting into Martha Moxley. I did not know anything about the death, the murder, the brutal murder of Martha Moxley. Did you know?
I did not know, but your mom, like, you had some connection to this case somehow.
I gotta get the details from my mom. My mom lived in Greenwich at the time that this happened, and I think that I don't know if she knew them personally or what, but my mom was in the town, basically. Like, look real hard at the background photos. You'll see my mom in there.
Your mom is Ethel Kennedy, is what you're saying.
But it's every series you've ever wanted us to cover, you guys. It's Don't F with Cats, Tiger King, The Staircase, Serial, Lorena, Making a Murderer,
The Jinx, Menendez Brothers,
Lacey Peterson. They're all there. Girl, anything else from you this week?
No, this documentary was all over the place. We got to get to work because I don't know how we're going to do this. It's like 3 documentaries in one. Nothing made any sense. You loved it. I didn't. Shall we?
Girl, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about missing 411.
Yeah. The disdain, girl, the disdain.
It's not. I'm not a monster. I want everything to be solved. Speaking of on brand, I don't want anyone missing. I want everything to be solved. But this documentary is missing like a through, like it doesn't, there was like a lot happening and I was like, wait, one case should be its own documentary. What's going on? There's like a lot, but you loved it. So here we are.
I always love this shit. I mean, of course, I don't want anyone to be missing either. This is all about kids that go missing in state parks. And like, I cannot imagine a torture worse than like your child going missing. Truly, I feel for these parents. I mean, my God, my heart grew 7 sizes today, girl. But you know, I think it's well made and these stories are really interesting. But yeah, the whole time I was watching it, I was like, Jillian hates this. I just know it.
And again, I say, not a mother, but you don't need to be a parent to give a shit about kids.
According to state police, there are 41 missing children.
At least they have an idea of where he was last seen.
Follows them for a point, but then turns around and goes back.
There's no clothing, there's no blood, there's nothing there.
There's any sense to this case whatsoever. It's something other.
I called every name I could and I listened.
I wanted the media to be on my son, not on me.
Why are they acting this way? Are they concealing something?
Doesn't matter who thinks you're murdered, we need to find your son.
And here was this little toddler with absolutely no clothes on at all.
Across my desk, that's an exact match for what we've talked about.
We're talking about a worldwide collective of information.
Everybody wants an answer. Hopefully someday we'll come up with one.
There's just too many questions that don't have answers.
So it opens really with a 911 call from July 10th, 2015. And it's a woman calling from a camping place near another place called DeOrr.
It's a camp. We know campsite. Right? Now we're just caricatures of our city selves. No. We know what a campsite is.
I said cow cage in one of the Unsolved Mysteries episodes.
That didn't even occur. Like, I didn't even hear. I was like, right, the cow. Right. What do they call it? It's the thing. Like,
also, if it's not a cow cage, what is it? I still haven't gotten to the bottom of that. So this woman is saying that her son is missing.
My 2-year-old son. We can't find him.
How long has he been missing?
About an hour. Yeah.
Are you by water?
Yes.
Do you know which campground you're in?
Timber Creek.
Hold on.
I gotta say, and other people say this later, like the lack of urgency on both sides of this call. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, the mom gets dragged for this, but I don't love this family.
Right.
So I'm not going out of my way to defend anyone here, but to me it just seems like you never know. You know what I mean? But you never know. Sometimes, like when you're terrified, like I think if I called 911 and something terrible happened, I think I would be like shaky, but I would be like trying. Like I would not be hysterical, but that doesn't mean that I'm not scare.
That 911 call would go like this.
911, what's your emergency?
Hello, it's Jillian Pensavalli. The address of the bar is 921 9th Avenue. I've just seen my podcast partner fall into a batch of frozen margaritas. We are going to need someone here now. Now, I don't know if he's breathing.
It was a death drop. No, he's not dead. It's called a death drop. It's called a death drop.
How has this emergency not happened yet? I feel not taken care of.
Because we haven't seen each other in a year. I know exactly how it happened.
So we meet this guy named Nate Eaton.
Yeah, he's a news reporter, and you're in love with him, right? You think he's super cute?
I think he's fine. Whatever.
All right. Jeez. Now, yeah, I'm the asshole for assuming you thought someone was cute. Yeah, it's me.
No, my thing with Nate is that Nate is like...
News in Idaho Falls is kind of slow. Not a lot of big things happen here.
Well, Nate, why is that where you wanted to report the news then, girl? Like, I thought news people were like, gotta be where the action happens. Nate's like, I'm moving to the place where there's no news and I'm gonna report it.
Well, I think maybe he started there.
But he's still there, girl.
It's true. He was like, yeah, like nothing. I'd only been here a few weeks and then this story happened and it ended up being the biggest of my career. So
I know.
And then we meet Frank, who's a private investigator hired by this missing boy's family. And he is immediately like...
It just didn't make sense that he did not find anything. Footprints, pieces of flesh, pieces of clothing.
Nothing makes sense at all. And that's he just stays right at the I don't like it, I don't buy it vibe from beginning to end.
Yeah, Frank, who was hired by the family to investigate this thing we're about to tell you about, has no fucking loyalty to this family.
And should he? We'll get back to it. I say no. I say he should. It's every Frank for themselves.
I know. I haven't known. I said, girl, it's been a minute since we've gotten to talk about how much PIs love their jobs. You think Frank loves his job, girl?
I think he loves his job mostly. He didn't like this job.
Right.
So we learned...
I gotta tell you, sometimes like monotone on fire Jillian is the best.
That's an oxymoron.
No, it's just very like, because it shows you how sincere you are, how much you mean it. So we learned that, like, what has happened here is that this 2-year-old boy named DeOrr Kunz Jr. disappeared on July 10th, 2015. Mm-hmm. And this happened in the Salmon Chalice National Forest. And we learned that, like, this camping place that they go to is very remote.
It's remote. Your cell phone is going in and out. You're on a gravel road at first, but then it turns very rocky. And when I say rocky, I mean big boulders.
Well, once you leave the pavement, I think it's a little over 7 miles of a pretty rough road.
The only way to get to this, we call it a campsite?
It's a
campsite.
Yeah.
I did go camping one time and we were toasting marshmallows and like a molten marshmallow fell on the top of my hand and I said never again.
Yeah. That was your big like tragedy at camping. You didn't like fall into a lake. Like just like, oh, the marshmallow burned me, Steve.
I was like 8. It was horrible.
Then why are you near fire as a child? You know what?
I know.
So now to get to this campsite, you have to drive 7 miles of what they spent 10 minutes telling us that it's like really, really rough road. It's a really dangerous road that you have to drive over for 7 miles to get through this super desolate campsite. And someone even says it's like, and then you get to the campground and it just kind of dead ends. Like you just like drive this like really rocky, dangerous, desolate road until like you get to the end of it and then there's like a desolate campground. Great. Sounds fun.
And the guy tells us,
once you reach the campsite to where they were at, the Timber Creek campground, it kind of just dead ends. And you get out and there's the campsite, there's a table, there's a fire pit. 10, 20 feet away, there's a steep hill that goes to the creek.
So it's like the table, the fire pit, and 20 feet away from where everyone is supposed to be like hanging out, having a nice time. Yeah. There's a very, very steep hill that goes into the creek. So it's just like a danger pit. Like you can fall down the 20-foot steep hill into the creek or just be murdered because you're in the actual middle of nowhere. Sounds fun.
Why don't we go camping more? The problem is definitely us. We don't get what's awesome about camping, girl.
You know what? We're not invited because no one wants to deal with us on the 22-mile drive into nowhere. And then us sitting there, the bugs. It's cold. It's too hot, and then it's too cold, and there are bugs. And is this what we're eating?
I know.
Oh, is this where we're sleeping?
I know.
Oh, we're not invited camping. Like,
No.
I'm glad we don't want to go because no, we're not invited.
So we learn this family, they arrive on the evening of July 9th. It's Thursday night. It was late, it was dark, and they said they immediately went to bed.
So here's who's here, right?
Yeah.
It's DeOrr Sr., who's the dad, and Jessica. They're the parents.
They're young. They're like probably in their 20s, right? Because their kid is 2.
Yeah, and they're engaged.
Yes.
Bob is Jessica's grandfather, not her father, her grandfather. So
Yes.
Jessica's young. And Isaac, who is Grandpa Bob's buddy, who at the very last minute was invited and just joined at the very last minute.
This guy's a piece of work. We're going to get to him eventually. But the news guy tells us that,
from day one, law enforcement told us that all of the people at the campsite were considered persons of interest just because they were simply there.
What happens is this family goes into the woods. The next day, the 2-year-old's going to go missing, and nobody saw a thing. Yeah, they're all persons of interest to the law enforcement and to me, girl.
Right, and we meet Jamie, who's a friend of the family, and she's like...
They got Grandpa settled in the camp trailer. They slept in the back of the Suburban, got up the next morning, and then he realized how rural it was. You know, they were basically at the end of the road. Thought it was a pretty safe place, you know, cliffs on all the way around, not really any way for him to get out, you know.
Everything she says, I'm like, opposite of safe. Check, opposite of safe, opposite of safe.
That is exactly what I said.
Again, I don't know what episode, but it's like when you go camping, you either find the skull or you become the skull. That's the rule. So the next morning, because they get there in the middle of the night, the next morning they wake up to do whatever it is you do when you go camping. And Jessica had to go into town to get like tampons or pads or whatever. They keep saying it like feminine products, like something to whisper about, whatever.
Right.
So she goes and gets whatever she needs and to get candy for DeOrr the kid. And then they head back to the campground, and Bob and Isaac, so Grandpa Bob and his buddy who just came at the very last minute, they're like showing off the fish they caught in the creek.
Yeah, and so this whole scene is kind of important because this is when the little kid goes missing.
So DeOrr the dad, DeOrr Sr., like doesn't believe the fish they caught. He's like, no way, like show me where you caught these fish. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
So DeOrr Sr., the dad, Jessica, the mom, Isaac, the weirdo friend, they walk 100 feet away is what we're told. Then they turn around and they're like, hey, 2-year-old little DeOrr, would you like to come with us? Then he follows them for a little bit. And then according to the cops, little DeOrr like turns around by himself, and everyone, the mother, the father, and weirdo Isaac just like assume that he went down with Grandpa Bob. My question is this. In what universe do you ask a 2-year-old to do anything?
I know.
You don't ask. You grab him by the hand and say, you're not leaving my side. Who asks a 2-year-old what they want to do?
But I think the idea is the family, like, they let him wander back to Grandpa. Grandpa, like, says, yes, he did wander back to me. At some point, he tells us that. And now we're with weirdo Isaac and the mom and the dad down at the riverbed. And this all happens very fast. Like, the dad goes back up to find the son. The son's not there. He asks Grandpa, where's the son?
Where's little DeOrr? And Grandpa said, well, he's right there. Of course, he's not there.
Now it's all hands on deck. Everyone is in a panic. They cannot find this kid anywhere. They search for like an hour and then make the calmest 911 call on record. And we're cutting back to the PI that the family eventually hired to figure out what happened. And he's already spilling the tea. He's like,
Grandfather claims he didn't go inside his trailer, but I believe he did.
So, like, just to get the timeline really crystal clear, the kid was with Grandpa. The Grandpa, like, turns his head for a minute or two or whatever, and then the kid is gone. But I think everyone kind of thinks the Grandpa's lying about this timeline.
I don't think he was paying attention at all.
Right.
Because, like, to me, like, how I heard him be like, oh, he's right there. Oh, what?
We are going to come back to this story, like, throughout, right?
Yeah.
So, like, the whole point of this documentary is that little kids going missing in national parks is a thing that has been happening for, like, a century. And so we get a bunch of these stories interspersed.
So now we're back to August 15th, 1958. We're at Rocky Mountain National Park, and Bobby Bizup is 10 years old. And he's at this camp, like this Camp St. Malo, it's called, right?
Yeah, and we learned that, like, he's also partially deaf, right? And he loved to fish. So one day in August of that year, he's, like, out fishing at this camp, and a counselor approached him and tells him that it's time for dinner.
Bobby acknowledged the counselor and started to follow him downhill towards the retreat. As the counselor was walking back, he turned behind him to look, and Bobby was gone.
And so, of course, the same thing. Panic, the search starts. So tons of people are involved. They're pulling out all the stops. And on August 25th, after 9 days of searching day and night, hundreds of people, the search ends. So there were 3 counselors who were involved in that search. The following summer, those same counselors came back to that camp and were there again to be counselors. That's what you do. So one day, they're like 2,000 feet away from where this camp is.
Yeah, they're walking up into like a boulder field. And a boulder field is a word I learned today.
Is it a 2-word hyphenate? Is it 2 separate words or is it just 1 word?
I think it's 2 separate words, I think. But I've been wrong on this count before. So
hey, don't quote us when it comes to the outside. If you've learned nothing in 5 zillion episodes of this.
The whole idea of this boulder field is that, like, in the middle of these national forests, like, you'll see, like, an aerial shot of thousands of acres of trees, and then there's this one area of that has no trees and it's full of rocks, and they call it a boulder field. And that's where these counselors were, and it was 2,000 feet up. It's basically like a 2,000 feet up the mountain from where that kid had been fishing the year before.
And one day they walked up the side of Mount Mika right through the boulder field, about 2,000 feet up from the retreat, and saw a hearing aid and bits of clothing. They found Bobby Bicep's remains.
And so the whole like bum, bum, bum moment is that whatever happened the summer before, the counselor came to tell him it was time for dinner. The counselor walks 1 minute down the hill, turns around, this kid is gone. And somehow, by a year later, the remains of this kid are found 2,000 feet up a sheer cliff, kind of, in the middle of a boulder field. And everyone is just saying it would have been absolutely impossible for him to have gotten there on his own. And the summer before, they searched that boulder field 3 times and the remains weren't there.
And also where it is, it's so hard to get to that Bobby did just like wander off and get lost. That's just not what happened.
Yeah, and like this shit doesn't make any sense because every time I'm like, well, the counselor killed the kid, right? Like the counselor did some horribly sexually violent thing to the kid and then murdered him. Like that's definitely what happened, right? But then it's like, no, because the counselor is accounted for that night at dinner and then Bobby, like, how did he get there?
Yeah, they were all searching for him. So that's where that's their alibi. They were all in the search party.
Because like for me, the most logical answer to all of these is like, well, they killed the kid, right? I mean, like that's just like the thing. But like the point is this shit happens a lot and it's a very weird thing and we don't know why it's happening. So now we're back to the Kunz case, you know, the little 2-year-old that like is going to be the one that follows us throughout.
Yes.
And we're learning about the search. And like, I gotta say, this is what always gets me. When we see these like people that their only job is to find missing people and they really fucking care. And it's like people from all different kinds of like law enforcement and search and rescue and like random just people. And they tell us that like,
you know, everyone said, take 5 steps, look up, look down, look around. Take 5 steps, look up, look down and around, and that's what we do. I mean, there's a lot of area up there.
There's people everywhere. I mean, there was 200 plus searchers up there the day after he went missing on Saturday. You know, there's people everywhere.
These people were crawling through the creek looking for this kid. They find nothing. They say they're checking wolf dens, bear dens, and eagle's nest because the kid was so little that a bald eagle could have picked the kid up and flown away with him, girl.
Yet bald eagles can like swoop down and pick up something weighing 30 pounds. And I'm like, oh, that's how much 2-year-olds weigh. Interesting. I have no concept about like.
My other thing, am I a total fucking monster? For my biggest note here is like, I am not searching a bear den for somebody else's kid. I'm like, this is what I'm going to need my 5-minute break. I'll be over here. Sam, could you take the bear den for me?
Yeah, another lesson. Bears, they will bear. They are going to bear. So I don't know about that. But the point is there are like bobcats and mountain lions and all these other animals. And like there wasn't even any evidence of an animal attack either. Like little DeOrr just vanished. And then they start turning the attention to the parents. And then they try to turn the parents against each other because someone's got to talk. Someone's got to know something here.
Law enforcement continually told us that all of the individuals were being cooperative. They were all questioned individually and together, and that they were working with them. There wasn't any sort of red flag that the police were saying that were pointing them toward one specific individual.
Even the dad here is saying, like, I get it. Like, of course we are, like, going to be the primary suspects. But, like, you know, we're going to learn throughout this documentary that, like, show me the evidence the kid was ever there at all. You know what I mean?
I think this case has nothing to do with the other cases that we discuss. I think this case has nothing to do with Bobby from 1958 and the other cases we talk about. This should be its own thing. So 3 days after DeOrr went missing, the parents leave the campground, they head home, and they, like, just show up at reporter Nate's studio.
Oh my God. Reporter Nate, like, this is the biggest interview of his life. He totally fucks it up. These two, Jessica and DeOrr Sr., are a fucking mess. Like, they've been sleeping in this campsite for 4 days. He's like, they haven't changed. They're dirty and stinky. Of course, like, they've been looking for their fucking kid in creek beds and bear dens.
And Nate's like, here's the thing about being a journalist.
Right.
We sat down, and as I do with any interview, especially with a distraught parent, you want to show compassion and kindness, but you also want to find out if they might have anything to do with his disappearance.
And I'm like, it's quite a dance, Nate.
I know.
5, 6, 7, 8, you're up. Let's see how it goes. Because we see the footage of this interview meeting. Like, did this end up on the 6 o'clock news? I don't know.
And it's like, this guy, Nate, is like wanting to like be the respectable journalist. His first question to the parents of this missing child.
Do you know, did somebody have a vendetta against you? I mean, I'm sure you've gone through your mind.
We have been racking our brains, and I don't know anybody that doesn't have a few people that either you like you or you hate you.
But
not to harm a 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old.
Not to harm us this way.
Does anyone have a vendetta against you?
And let me tell you, their answer is like, yeah, doesn't everybody? And I'm like, yes, yeah. But their point is like, absolutely, we have enemies, tons of them, but like not an enemy at the level where they'd want to like hurt us this way and take our son. But of course, we have enemies. Who doesn't?
I know. These people have not had media training. It was like wrong answer, parents, wrong answer. And so, this is where we're looking at the parents for a minute, and the grandmother, Jessica's mother, says like everybody wants to know why she was so calm on that 911 call. And I went, me too, girl. I kind of really want to know.
And then we kind of like mom shame Jessica, or like just shame Jessica. They want us to think that she was like a bad mother who hated children.
And I know that she had her tubes tied and singed so she could never have a reverse, never have another child. And I think she did that because she didn't want children. But there was evidence that she had a hard time dealing with kids. She would leave her kid at daycare and leave him unattended many times. And I've talked to many people that brought that out.
They're like, oh, she left DeOrr, like little DeOrr, unattended constantly. And I'm like, wait, how?
I know.
What? Like, what does that mean?
Right, I know. She committed the cardinal sin of putting him in daycare. This is all, by the way, coming from the private investigator hired by them.
I know.
You guys, this private investigator has no allegiances to anybody.
Shit goes real south real quick. We'll get there. But also, Jessica has 2 kids from a previous marriage, and they visit every other weekend. So we just get like 10 different stories. And I'm like, what are you trying to say here?
Right, because it's also like, you can be a parent and not love being a parent every fucking second that you're doing it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I've from what I've heard, you guys don't sleep ever. You eat standing up, right?
I eat standing up a lot, girl.
Because of the kid.
I know. So, you guys, we're going to get the story of this kid named Jared Atadero, and this story breaks my fucking heart. I think about this all the time, and I blame the Christian singles. We'll get there, but I blame the Christian singles.
I am incensed about... Okay. All right. So,
you guys, I'm telling you, if you're a Christian single, she's fucking mad at you right now, and you don't want to be there. You really don't want to be there, you guys.
Because right now, it's like, if it's one of you, it's all of you. I like, guilty by association. Like, this story is so insane.
Also, Patrick and Jillian have no actual problems with Christian singles.
Great. Just don't do this. Don't do what we're about to tell you.
Yeah, this is bananas. So, we meet this guy, Alan Atadero. He's Jared's father. So, this guy, Alan, he owns a store at this resort, and this resort is like a place where you come to go do the camping.
It's closer to the kind of camping we like, because it's like a cabin and a main building.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Hot water and a stove.
Yeah, like electricity.
Yeah,
Netflix, probably.
That's camping.
Yeah,
that counts.
Totally.
So in the fall of 1999, a Christian singles group was staying at the lodge.
So these sexy singles decide, let's have a really rockin' time. They're going to go to the trout hatchery because nothing says find your soulmate like an afternoon at the trout farm.
It really gets you in the mood. I grew up, there's like a famous, you're going to not know what this is at all.
Oh, God.
There's a famous herring run on Cape Cod.
A what?
You guys, Google Brewster Herring Run. I grew up really near it. It's a thing. I don't know. I grew up in a coastal town. It's a thing. You help the herring get up the stream, and it's a thing that we all used to do. So I kind of understand going to the salmon hatchery or wherever these people are going. It's fun.
Great. Sounds wonderful. So then suddenly, which is completely out of the aesthetic of this documentary, there's this super weird, over-the-top reenactment.
Hey, Alan.
several of the people I knew quite well. So I gave permission for Jocelyn to go, not knowing that Jared would be saying, gee, Dad, if she can go, why can't I go too?
Hey, can Jocelyn and like your 3-year-old little boy come along? You're sexy singles looking for your soulmate or just some fun, whatever, no judgment. Have a great time at the trout hatchery. Why do you want to bring 2 kids with you and one of them is 3?
I know, this doesn't make any sense. And so the dad is like, well, Jared was a little young, but okay, you're only going 2 miles away, fine. I know these people. But you guys, instead of going the 2 miles away to the trout hatchery, they drive 16 miles to what is described as a moderate trail for hiking. And they tell us that, like,
you could take a kid on it as long as you kept the kid in line and hung on to him. Because there were some areas where the ledges were only 24 inches wide and you had loose shale all the way down to the river. And then there was rock fields. Being a moderate trail, it's pretty tough. If you're not in shape, it'll take it out on you.
We see the trail. The river, which is like 10 feet to the right, the water is going 70 miles an hour down this river. Like, this is not a safe place.
The more we have like a hiking expert or whatever, the more they describe this trail, the worse it is. It's like sometimes the trail was only 2 feet wide with steep hills, just waiting for someone to fall down it. Here's my question that makes me fucking furious. How on earth, again, like you're there for like a singles weekend, you decide to take a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old to the trout hatchery, and then you take them 15, like in what universe did all 30 of you think it was okay to not only take a 3-year-old to a trout farm? That's stupid anyway. But then you take somebody else's 3-year-old child 15 miles away from where the parent thinks they are. And it's not like the safe fucking boring. I'm sorry, I love science, I love animals. It's like, I get it. But like, that's a safe space for a 3-year-old. Look at the trout, look at the fish eggs, whatever. Then they're going 15 miles away down this like hike of death. Who thought this was okay? Like, they should all be arrested. Like, I totally agree. Like, I can't believe what I'm hearing. I can't believe this. All of them. Mary and Joe, they were all like,
Rose of Sharon.
Right, everyone, Mary Sue and Alice, they were all like, absolutely. Let's bring the 6 and the 3-year-old 15 miles away from where their father thinks they are, and it's a treacherous mountain.
And by the way, this weekend was like 28 women and 2 guys.
God, please. The guys who were roommates. Okay. Again, have fun. Have a great weekend away.
I know.
But what are you doing?
This is what makes me insane. Because like it's one woman who basically is like in charge of the 3-year-old Jared. And all of a sudden we get this story that they're on the trail.
As Jared, as a 3-year-old, is running and playing and having a good time. And I believe there was something 10 to 20 minutes worth of time that she lost track. The adult realized I haven't seen him for a while.
They're on the trail. They get separated because he's going faster. Anybody who has a 3-year-old knows they don't walk. They fucking either lie on the ground and refuse to move or run everywhere. There's no walking.
You okay, girl? Getting some flashbacks? Here? You all right? It's okay. She's not here. She can't hurt you now.
There's no walking. It's running or refusing to move. And so the adult and Jared get separated. She lets him run off like 25 feet in front of her, which all fucking children that age do. Mary Sue's looking around like she's just like having a grand old time. She's not used to being a parent, obviously. And then she realizes it's been 10 minutes since she's seen the kid. And that was when I lost my fucking mind.
Because the thing is, I'm blaming Mary Sue for all of this. She's the ringleader, no question. Because she was the one who was like, I'll lead the pack, and she was the one at the only reason Jared was at the front of the crew was because Mary Sue dragged him, led him there, and then they didn't stay with the pack. They were just going faster anyway. And then this bitch Mary Sue, I hate you wherever you are. She's like, it's been 20 minutes. I haven't seen the 3-year-old I took on this hike against his will.
I know.
I'm losing my mind. And then apparently Jared, alone, 3-year-old little Jared just comes upon some fishermen by himself. And then this is oh my God, this little kid just wanted to explore. Because he says to the fisherman, do you know where the bears are? Which, to be fair, to this day, I'm 22 years old. I would ask if anyone's seen a bear. Is there a bear I could pet? Is there a cool, dangerous animal I could be friends with? I get it. He's 3, but that's who last saw him. Fisherman, because he wandered away from Mary Sue. I hate you, Mary Sue. I hope you hear me. me.
This is where I have in my notes, murder these people. I don't believe in capital punishment except for now.
Mary Sue, you know what? I'll lead her into the woods and just see how she likes it. Mary Sue, I hope you're listening. I hate you. I hope I keep you up at night. I hope my voice is what keeps you up at night.
So they can't find the kid. They go back to the resort. They go in and get Jared's dad.
This is insane.
I know. Mary Sue knocks on the door.
This horrible reenactment. We don't get reenactments like this before or since. And she's like, Alan, something is wrong. Right. We have to talk to you. This bitch, Mary Sue, I hate you. She's like,
something's wrong.
And they're like, Alan, we have to talk to you. Sure, what's going on? And they said, we had a problem with Jared. Well, what happened? Did he fall? Did he, scrape his knee? Did he break his arm? What happened? And what they actually said to me was, he's okay. We just can't find him.
everything is fine. Jared is totally okay. We just don't know where he is. Also, we didn't go to the trout hatchery. We went 15 miles away to this treacherous mountain. But everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
And then the dad, and you can see him like reliving it now. He like jumps in his truck. He is losing his fucking mind.
I just kept beating myself in the chest like someone had stuck me with a sword. Just beating my chest and yelling, and I yelled and screamed in my truck all the way up the road. I don't even know how I got there. I drove that road probably twice as fast as anyone should even drive that road.
He's driving 1,000,000 miles an hour. He's yelling at himself for letting these people take his child. And he gets all the way up there and like, he's just going crazy. He's running up and down the trails looking for his kid. Eventually they get 65 search and rescue professionals, 24 hours a day looking for this kid for 8 straight days. And they come up with nothing.
And then 3.5 years later, we have these like hiker BFFs.
Oh my
They're
God.
such an odd couple. I am obsessed with them.
I thought they were totally husbands. I was like, what is happening here?
Oh, I think they're just like the only people in each other's lives that like hiking, but they're not like super close. They just have this one thing in common. And so we're talking to them and they tell us a story.
This time we decided to go off trail, and we just walked right into it. And we knew right away that it was probably Jared Adadero's clothes.
They find this sneaker and clothes just like the kid in 1958. So I'm thinking, first of all, I have a lot to say here, but first of all, I'm like, how were these clothes not damaged by the elements? 3.5 years, it's a long time. So behind the camera, these two men, honestly, the one thing they have in common is hiking, and that's why they're friends, just to be clear. So behind the camera, we hear someone ask,
is there any way Jared could have climbed up to that spot on his own?
so is there any way that Jared, the 3-year-old, could have climbed up to that spot on his own?
No
way.
That's a hard one.
No way. Absolutely no way.
He lived in a cabin in the
He's a
Poudre.
3-year-old. There's no way. There was no way that would happen. Yeah.
Not all the way.
I mean, it was a struggle for Gary and Addie. Yeah. Very rough terrain.
Rob, one of our hikers, is like, oh my God, no, absolutely not a chance. Gary, his friend, is like, I don't know, that's a hard question. And Rob goes, Gary, he was 3 years old. And then he turns to us, he's like, don't listen to Gary. Jared totally couldn't have done this. They're like bickering. That was my favorite scene of the whole thing.
It's really great. The thing to know about these two guys, and I'm going to try not to like sob, they were part of the original search team 3.5 years before, and they never stopped looking for this kid. Mm-hmm. They never stopped. Like, hiking is their hobby, but they were doing it with a purpose for 3.5 years. They find a sneaker. That's the whole big thing. It's been 3.5 years, you guys. They say the sneaker looked like it was just taken off that morning. They're like, I almost expected it to like be connected to a kid's foot. Like, it looked like a brand new sneaker. No way it's been out there for 3.5 years.
No way. And the whole point is like they've searched the same area over and over and over again.
Right.
So like it's not like they missed it for 3.5 years. Like this is a new placement.
And it's Jared's sneaker. Just to be really clear, this is Jared's sneaker. And they say it's like there's no way it could have been there for 3.5 years. They find his clothing and they find a tooth, one of his teeth, like neatly placed in a log at the top of this ridge. It is fucking crazy.
And I do appreciate them getting my mind off the horrible words, but they did say that the tooth was sitting atop a log and it distracted me. So I want to say thank you for distracting me and making me smile for once in this documentary by using the word atop. Well played.
You know, we get back to the dad and like the dad is saying,
I hear constantly about a mountain lion. Yet, when they tested Jared's clothing, there was no mountain lion hairs, no DNA, no blood, nothing on his clothing.
They say that like what probably happened was he was grabbed by a cat, and the cat, like holding Jared in his mouth, was scared away by all the people looking for him. The cat killed the little boy, buried him, and came back and got him later. And the dad is just here to debunk all of this because he's showing us the clothing. The shirt looks pristine. There's no cat hair on it. There's no blood. There's no DNA. There's nothing on it. And he's saying that like also when cats go to like kill humans, they go for the stomach. The shirt is fully intact.
And first of all, mountain lions bury things.
I know.
And Survivor Man is here? Like, where am I?
I know.
Like the guy, like that show, Survivor Man?
Wait, what is that? I don't know what that is.
I can quote The Office where Michael Scott is like, when Jan and I had TiVo, we used to watch the show called Survivor Man where this guy just went into the wilderness and tried not to die.
Dwight will be driving me deep into the Pennsylvania wilderness, where he will then leave me to either die or to survive.
Like, it's that guy. And he's here to be like, I know a thing or two about like surviving in the elements. And he's just here to say like.
In a lot of these cases, search and rescue or the volunteers searching people have already gone over certain areas, not once, not twice, but even dozens of times. And then the child is found there, maybe a year, maybe a few years later. I think whatever is happening is beyond our understanding.
This Survivor Man guy is saying, like, what's going on here is something that is beyond our control. It's something that we don't understand. And, like, they don't say aliens, but I think that's what they're saying.
Well, the whole thing, this is what a big issue I take with this documentary, is that they don't say that, like, they're alluding to supernatural spooky stuff.
Yes,
And I wish they would say that from the beginning. And that's why the little DeOrr story makes no sense to me, because I don't think there's supernatural stuff there. But the fact that, like, the clothes are showing up totally pristine 3.5 years later, like, that's weird and scary.
Yeah, it's totally fucking weird. And, like, also, like, the human story of this guy losing his son, and it's just so fucking sad. So we're back to, like, the main topic of the episode, the disappearance of that little kid, DeOrr. Now, remember that guy, Isaac, the grandpa's buddy?
Yeah, so Isaac joined this camping trip very last minute. He's much younger than the grandfather.
So I was imagining like grumpy old men. I was thinking like Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. Can you believe I fucking knew who was in that movie?
And Anne Margaret, how dare you? And Kevin Pollak, like please. Daryl Hannah, I love
Focus, girl focus.
It's grumpy old man season. It's winter. Let's go. Yeah, so no, like Isaac is an addict and he's a lot younger than the grandfather.
And we get no information on the friendship. Like, how do they know each other? We get no information. It's very weird.
Well, reporter Nate is on the job. We see his like little reporter piece, and he tries to be all cute here too, because he's like, I'm Nate, and I went to see Isaac the friend.
So we went to his Idaho Falls house over and over and over again. Finally, early Monday morning, he answered the door.
I paid a visit to his house over, knock, 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 over, knock, 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 and over again. So Nate is trying to get to Isaac. Isaac is like not having it. Isaac finally answers the door days later. Like Nate goes back every morning at 9 a.m. Ding, ding, ding. Hi, it's me.
Hiya.
And Isaac is like, yeah, sorry, I don't have any questions. And Nate's like, right, I have the questions, girl.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I'm sorry.
You don't have anything you want to say? All right, sorry to wake you up. We just want to see if you have anything to say about DeOrr missing.
I don't.
You don't?
I have no comment.
But wait a second. My note here, I was like, this is a mess. So Isaac is either sleeping it off or still fucking hammered. He's got the door open. He's like leaning like a half in, half out the door, eyes fully closed.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be on camera.
No, and he's saying he doesn't want to answer any questions as he's answering every single question.
Nate, like, because Isaac doesn't shut the door in his face, Nate is just like, cool about that no comment thing. So little DeOrr was with you and the grandfather when he wandered away, and Isaac is like, yeah, no comment. And Nate's like, great. And you thought that little DeOrr was with the parents?
And then you guys thought he was with the parents.
Yeah.
And the parents came back and he was gone.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I don't want to answer any more questions or anything.
And it's just this back and forth over and over and over again. And Isaac is like clearly not well. He's an addict. They never get into the relationship between him and Bob, the grandfather.
I know. And then it cuts to Frank, the PI, the guy with no loyalties to anybody but still on the family payroll. And he goes,
Strange thing about Isaac, he never searched for the boy. I interviewed Isaac. He's a strange duck.
He's a strange duck.
Accurate. You know what? Isaac also is a fucking sex offender.
I know. And that's the whole thing where I was like, okay, well, now here we fucking go.
But the thing is, we just know that it was reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor. We don't know the crime. We don't know what happened. Like, that's irresponsible storytelling. I'm sorry.
Yes, I totally agree. I absolutely agree.
Actually, I'm not sorry. I take it back. I'm not sorry at all.
You guys knew we were going to talk about this documentary one day.
He's a sex offender? Like, that's important information.
But also, like, did the grandpa know that and he's bringing him on a family fucking camping trip anyway?
And why was it so last minute? Was he like, oh, little kid's going? Can I come along? Like, what's happening?
I know. But guess what, you guys? Isaac, I'm not taking any questions, is now here for a fucking interview.
We also have the grandfather just, like, doing an audio interview because he doesn't want his face to be seen or whatever.
And it's like, it's intercut back and forth. And again, it's like everyone is just telling the same thing, right?
Right.
It's the same story that we heard at the beginning. We don't have to go through it again. But, like, this is where we hear the grandpa saying...
And the kid was there with me, but I turned my head for a minute. I don't know how long, 5-10 minutes, I don't know.
I turned my head for 5 or 10 minutes. Grandpa, that is not turning your head, girl.
And 5 or 10, yeah, that's it. That's the way to say it. It's not turning your head.
And that's the thing, like, is the idea that the grandpa or Isaac or grandpa and Isaac killed the kid? And then my other question that I'm going to keep coming back to is, show me the evidence the kid was ever there at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I can say is that, like, they all pretty much do have the same story. And I think that, like, in instances where people are lying, the stories are really discombobulated. Like, I don't believe that Jessica and DeOrr Sr. got together with this weird friend guy, what's his name?
Isaac.
And, like, memorized the story together. Like, it does seem like they all are telling the same story. You know what I mean? So now, the important thing to know is that we have not met Jessica or DeOrr in the documentary. We've seen footage of them, but it seems like they're not really participating.
And this is when Frank the PI is like...
Every time somebody would come around who was part of the media, he would say, well, what blank blank are they doing here? Why are they here? And that bothered me. So why would they not want coverage? I knew that they were offered Nancy Grace for an hour.
Good Morning America called them, and they wouldn't go.
They don't want to talk, and Frank the PI thinks that's weird. He's like, don't you want everyone to know about this story? Like, don't you want this to be out there?
I mean, it is weird. Like, Nancy Grace is garbage, but, like, they don't seem like discerning people to me. They also said, like, Good Morning America, and I'll tell you what, if Daisy went missing and Nancy Grace offered me an hour, I would be there with bells on, deleting all of our episodes where we said mean shit about her all the way. Like,
well, all of those things can be true. Right. She can be garbage, but you can also use her as a platform to talk about your missing child.
Totally. Right. And so, like, it is weird that they're not doing that. That really is fucking weird. So we're with Kelsey, the friend of Jessica, who's kind of been like Jessica's spokesperson throughout this episode. And you guys, this gets real weird real fast.
Yeah, we're like talking to Kelsey. We're like there. And Kelsey...
By the way, this interview is happening in her garage on like a blow up couch. It's very weird.
Like the couch is on top of a lot of things. Like I'm jealous that she has more storage than I do, honestly, if we're going to really go there. So as Kelsey is like I personally want more coverage for this case. Like, I think they should be talking more.
And Kelsey, by the way, we're making fun of your garage. You seem like a very good person. I like you, Kelsey.
Again, I'm jealous of your storage space. I have none. New York City. So as this is happening, someone like from behind the camera interrupts the filming.
Kelsey? Jess has been texting. I'm not sure she's happy about this.
Jess, DeOrr's mom, has been like furiously texting about the fact that they're making a documentary and that Kelsey is talking about the situation.
But Kelsey, in the moment, is non-pulsed. I'm going to use that word. She's like, girl, Jess said it was fine for me to do this. Like, why is everyone freaking out? Kelsey goes back to talking. You guys, we hear like a truck muffler pulling into her driveway. Kelsey knows the rumble of this muffler. And she's like, that's not a euphemism, you guys. She knows the rumble of the muffler. She goes,
that's DeOrr.
She gets up, but she's got the hot mic. She's got the hot mic.
Oh, yeah. And so she goes out to talk to DeOrr, who we don't see on camera. We just hear this conversation like in the next room.
Kelsey like instantly bursts into tears.
What the is going on?
What the she's doing? She's having a connection fit. Everything was fine today.
Dude, I called.
You didn't do anything, honey. You didn't do anything. I know. You didn't do anything, babe. You're fine.
I just want to help.
You're fine, honey. She's just going through her shit.
She's like, why is she yelling at me? She knew I was going to do this. I told her. And I'm like yelling at you via text. Like, wow, real scary. And DeOrr is like, I told Jess she really doesn't like this idea. And I'm like, wait a second. Like, what is it? There's a lot of confusion here.
Because again, it's like they're making a documentary about your missing kid, Jessica. Why don't you like this? And this is where we hear DeOrr Sr., the dad, saying,
She's fine, but she's not. And a lot of it is Jessica's very impressionable. So what she's fine with right now, all she gotta do is talk to her mom, and her mom can talk her into doing anything. And if her mom is, I don't trust her mother. I don't trust that Bob and Isaac can have something to do with this, and I don't trust that her mother, Trina, is not trying to hide that as well. So
like, we are getting all this shit like off mic, and DeOrr is like, Kelsey, you didn't do anything wrong. He's talking to the crew. He's like, you guys didn't do anything wrong either. I'm gonna fix this. And
everyone's like, we know DeOrr. DeOrr like wants to run every show, and the crew is like, we know, girl. I know we didn't do anything wrong.
I mean, I like DeOrr. I feel bad for him. Like, next thing we know, bada bing, bada boom, we're in Jessica and DeOrr's house, and they're finally sitting for a fucking interview for us.
Right, but this is when we learn Frank, the PI, fires them. He's like, look.
Fired them as clients, and we see the breakup letter.
And the letter says, for reasons including but not limited to a break of trust on your part. And he's like really upset that like they refused to take this case national. He was like, I was going to help you and spend my own money, put up a $20,000 reward on the condition you were honest with me. You have not been honest with me. Now you're fired. That's it.
Yeah. And like, what? Oh my God. It's like, I don't understand. Like, Jess and DeOrr, everyone wants to find your kid. Why don't you want to participate? And so this is kind of what Jess and DeOrr are here to tell us. And like, DeOrr is saying,
I wanted the media to be on my son, not on me, not on Jessica, because that doesn't help find him. Everything I would say would be twisted.
He's talking and he's believable, but it doesn't make any sense what he's saying.
Like, yeah, the words make sense. Of course we're looking at the parents. Of course we're looking at the father, but the correct emotions aren't behind it. Does that make sense?
1,000,000%. And I just wonder if, I'll just spill the tea. My guess is that there was some accident happened. The kid died not on purpose. I don't know who was there. I don't know whose fault it was. I don't even know that it was at the campsite. Like, maybe it happened somewhere else.
I completely agree with you.
And that maybe they staged this camping trip to make it look like he went missing there. But at the same time, I believe these other weird occurrences of these kids going missing in these other places and times.
Again, there are two documentaries happening at once. This case with DeOrr has nothing to do with the other weird, probably supernatural, maybe supernatural stuff. This is completely different.
And so maybe, like, as DeOrr Sr. is sitting here for this interview, he maybe knows what happens or think he knows what happens and doesn't know if he should be loyal to the family or if he, like, it's a very weird, like, what the fuck is happening here? But also fascinating. It's why I love this movie.
Because as, like, DeOrr and Jess are explaining all, like, what, you know, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. This is why we don't talk to the media. Then suddenly we're back to all these experts and they're like,
it's an unknown what happened to these people, and it extends far beyond just kids.
There's not going to be any one particular person that can shed light onto a lot of the phenomenon that's going on. We're talking about a very large, even worldwide collective of information here.
No one can really speak to the strange phenomena happening. And I'm like, wait, so this was a spooky documentary? Like, what was the point of this? Like, the DeOrr story needs to be told. I want everyone to be found. I want justice for everyone.
Yeah.
But there's a weird disconnect between what happens in the national parks and what happened with DeOrr.
And I will just say this one last thing. The FBI did get involved in the case of DeOrr Jr., and they got involved to investigate and then decided that there wasn't really any evidence of a crime and they weren't going to be pursuing any criminal charges. So nobody's been charged with anything. And I gave it a gook today. In 2020, it was the 5-year anniversary of DeOrr missing. Jess and DeOrr Sr. have split up. Remember how they were going to get married next month? They're not together anymore. Yeah.
I say that, I don't mean to be cold, but like that checks out. That could totally destroy yeah, that sucks. Or if they're garbage, I don't know. I don't know. I'm very confused. This is why I hate the missing people stuff. I never know what to think. I like when I know how I feel. Am I mad? Am I sad? Am I what? Now I'm just confused, and that's not fun.
Oh my God, you guys, we did Missing 411. It's so sad, and it's so, at the same time, it's so gripping. Like, what the fuck is happening? We also learned that there's no records of, like, all the people that have gone missing in national parks. This is, like, a thing, and there's no accounting for it. It's bananas.
Can someone make the documentary that this was supposed to be? Because I'm interested. If anyone has any spare time, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
You guys, if you want more fun laughs, good times.
Fun laughs, good times.
Join GP and me on the Pates. It's like 150 full bonus episodes to download a binge at the $5 level right now.
Yeah, you get all those long form series that we're always talking about: The Jinx, Making a Murderer, Don't F with Cats, Tiger King, The Vow, I'll Be Gone in the Dark. You get ad-free versions of these episodes. You get after parties, quarantine check-ins, Zoom hangs. We're just like all around.
You're on a roll right now.
I gotta be amped up about something. This documentary was a snoozer.
You guys find us on the internet at truecrimeobsessed.com. You get all the episodes, all the promo codes for our ads, our sponsors. If you're ever looking for them, you can find them there. Find our merch. Follow us on Instagram at True Crime Obsessed Podcast. Follow Jillian on all the things at Jillian with a G.
Yeah, and you are Patrick Hines _ on Insta and at Patrick Hines on Twitter. And we donate everything we get from our merch, by the way.
That's right. It goes to these great charities. Girl, what are we doing next? You know?
We are doing, are you ready for this, girl?
Oh, God, what is it?
The Trials of Ted Haggard.
I don't know anything about this. What is it?
Ted Haggard was that asshole from Jesus Camp who was like preaching about how the gays are like gonna burn in hell, and then he's a gay himself, which is great, but like don't preach about how gays are terrible. If they're gonna be gay.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
All right, well, stay tuned for the trailer for that, for the outtakes for this. And girl, I love you. I miss you.
I love you and I miss you. And again, if you have the time, could you make that documentary? Thanks.
We love you guys.
Bye. Thank you.
One of the most powerful evangelical leaders of our time.
Please welcome Ted Haggard. I'm living a pretty good life. I love this.
But one shocking scandal brought his world crashing down.
Reverend Ted Haggard said that he bought crystal meth from Mike Jones, the male prostitute who says Haggard paid him for sex.
I went there for a massage.
What we have here is someone who in leadership has failed the standard that he lifted up for himself.
He just needs to disappear. So this is my new life. Village Inn, Motel 6 or 8. I didn't make any money this week. Lost money big time. Lost money I don't have. Gay, straight, bisexual, what are you, Ted Haggard?
I stuck with him because I believe you fight for the good.
Somebody struggling with sin is the purpose that the church is on earth. Now I've lost my career, I've lost my social standing, I've lost all my positions. So in this stage of my life, I'm a loser.
Don't ask me to stay on the phone.
No, I need my, just because you're not drinking marks doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I need my mark to handle the drama of you being in a pool of marks. Like, where are we? Is it just a gigantic champagne glass? That's what it seems like. Just filled with marks.
You guys, TikTok Death Drop O'Clock. Somebody find it, put it back in the Facebook group. I think we need it, you guys.
It comes up like every 6 weeks now. We went like a year and a half with no one knowing about it, and now it's like every 6 weeks, like clockwork. Anyway.
As I said, he is flailing in a huge batch of frozen margarita.
As I said, I can't talk right now. They're waiting for me to do the shot. They're waiting for me. Everyone has the lime in their hand. They're ready to go.
I can't save him. That's why I called you. The most camping I've ever done was watching True Beverly Hills on a loop when I was 13.
Oh, same. Yeah, writers, screenwriters, can we cut out the whole "there's only one way to find out"? I never need to hear that in a movie. That's ridiculous. It's so cheesy. No one has ever said that in real life, ever. Don't worry about it. I don't know, but there's only one way to find out. All right, there's got to be a better way.
It's like a picnic table, a fire pit, and like a row of trees and a creek. And that's what's there. That's what you drove all this way for.
That's a creek, right?
Yes. Yes. Okay. You know the thing that really gets me about being a parent, especially to Daisy? I am expected to share everything I have with her. She won't share anything with me. We had bagels the other day. I had to give her half my bagel. Then I asked her if I could have a bite. She said no. And not only did she say no, she started to cry.
She's not a good sharer. Unless you're super hot husband Mike, then you can have anything. But for the most part, she doesn't love the sharing.
No, is that me? Is that a reflection of my parenting?
No, she's a kid. I would say like, welcome to the world of being an only child. But yeah. I think I was a pretty good sharer. I don't know. Who can remember? She's not. She's like, no. For a fact, like, I'll go on the record. She's not a good sharer. But she has time. Also, who cares? Who is she seeing? It's quarantine. Doesn't matter.